Well, guys, after an entire season and much speculation, the worst possible outcome has finally happened, but it definitely is not the actual outcome in what is sure to be an extremely thrilling finale and the best episode we have had in a very long time. To Infantino Street, and guys, I was actually really looking forward to this episode. As you guys know, yes, I have not been high on The Flash this season at all. I think this has been a very messy, unfocused, just really bland season. It just really has not been as interesting as it really should have been, and it's had a lot of repetitive arcs and things like that. But this last half, this last chunk we've gotten has really made up for a lot of the bullshit we've had to endure all season, and I have to say that this is the best episode we've gotten in so long. I loved pretty much everything about this episode. This episode isn't perfect. There definitely are some things that I definitely thought were a little bit strange, but I did really love this episode overall. We got a fantastic pair-up in this episode. And sure, things do go in a tragic direction, but this episode was fun, and they tried to keep that fun blend in there, and I really do like the way that it was done here. But let's just get into this episode, because I definitely do want to talk about it. Obviously, there's a lot to talk about within this episode, and right off the bat, we know this is going to be a huge deal, because it's actually 24 hours until Iris dies, and I love the way that that is really our setup for this episode. Ever since episode 10, that's been like the main, well, episode 9 rather, that's been the main thing that we've been, pursuing is is trying to save Iris from her imminent death. And we get this great montage where HR and Tracey are having coffee. Cisco's working in his lab and he's checking the time. Joe is sitting at home and looks at a photo of his family, and obviously, Joe is very much, he doesn't really know where to go about this, because on one hand, he thinks, okay, maybe my daughter is about to be spared. On the other hand, maybe he could possibly be losing his daughter. So Wally comes in and they hug, and it was just that little scene there was very powerful. I really like the way that was done. And at the loft, we see Iris and Barry lie in bed. They're looking at the ceiling, and Iris says that she wants caviar, and Barry then goes out to get some. He asks her to stay with them and promises that the team will come up with something. They kiss, and then Barry speeds out, and once she's alone, Iris starts recording a message for Barry. Now, we don't know what this is, but the next morning, they get dressed when Cisco calls, and once he hangs up, Barry tells Iris that they have good news. So Barry and Cisco then actually meet Lila outside of Argus, and scenes like this are why this episode is so great. Everything felt complete. Like, a lot of episodes this season have really missed their potential because they haven't felt complete enough. They felt either very rushed or they got into the conflict too soon. This episode did not feel that way. It felt like it really was complete, and this scene with Lila was a very good way to do that, because we see her they meet with her outside of Argus, and they explain they're building a bazooka, and they need an extremely powerful energy cell, and Cisco then spotted what they need inside of Argus via satellite, and Lila admits that they have a piece of the Dominator's technology, but unfortunately they can't have it, and Barry wonders if it's about Baby Sarah being changed to Baby John, and Lila tells him it's the kind of tech that wars are fought over, and, obviously, that is on Lila's mind, the fact that he did, just the idea that her son could have possibly been a daughter, yeah, that's something that she will always kind of be perplexed about, but Lila tells him it's the kind of tech that wars are fought over, and if it gets into the wrong hands, millions could die. So it's a very risky situation, but in the situation that they're in with saving Iris, Barry's not holding back. He's doing whatever he can in his power to make sure that Iris is saved, and basically, she says she really doesn't trust Barry, which is understandable. After everything that Barry's done, he's proven that he really can't be trusted. I mean, he's constantly going back in time. He's constantly fucking things up. So I really don't blame Lila for not trusting Barry here. And Barry says that Iris will die. Lila tells him that they'll have to find another way. And I like that even though she is on his side, she just can't trust him with this kind of tech because the kind of weapon it is. It's just not something that Barry really should be handling. And again, it's a very good setup for what's to come here. So, at Star Labs, Barry tells the team they should break into Argus and take the tech, obviously because Lila won't give it to them. They might just have to do that. And Cisco determines that there's a metahuman dampener on the building, and the Dominator tech is the only thing that can provide the energy. So if they don't have that, then the metahuman dampener is just going to go wild, and all of these metahumans are going to get into the building. So HR suggests that they put Iris on a plane overseas, but Barry figures that Savitar will find her anywhere, which, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I know a lot of people said, oh, why didn't they just send Iris to Paris or something? Savitar, as we know, the reason that he is so ahead of Barry is because he actually is Barry. What Barry's thinking, Savitar is thinking, and that's why they can't just do that. As much as easy as it seems to do, that's just not how it's going to work. No matter what happens, Savitar will try to get her at Infantino Street. And Barry figures that basically Cisco points out all the security systems, and Barry figures that they need a master thief. And we then go to Siberia, 1892, and we see Snart. And I love seeing Snart here. Yes, we saw him in Legends, but this is the Snart that was with the Legends before he realized that he was really a hero. He's returning to the Wave Rider, and Barry arrives, says he needs his help. He explains that he needs to recruit him for a mission, and Snart points out that he has a team of his own that he really doesn't understand, and Barry explains that Snart has a particular set of skills, and when the villain wonders why Barry's desperate enough to ask for his help, Barry explains that Iris is going to die, and obviously, Snart doesn't really care that Iris is going to die. There was some really funny one-liners there, especially the whole thing with Jaws and him talking about how they didn't have the budget for Jaws, so he doesn't know if they'll have the budget for this. Just that was hilarious. I loved, Snart's one-liners this episode. They always, Wentworth Miller is just so great as that character, and, he asked Barry why would he go back in time, because he is messing things up, but Barry does point out that, Snart belongs in 1892, and he'll just bring him back when he needs to, and basically Len is amused that Flash has agreed to become a thief, and he agrees but says that Barry follows their rules. He will make sure that things go his way, and that obviously it's a very Snart thing to do. That's something Snart's always done. So at Star Labs, HR is then spinning a plan when Barry and Snart arrive, and Barry explains that Snart is going to help them, and Snart then goes to Cisco's lab to get everything ready, and Joe realizes that Barry time traveled again, which Barry said that he would never do, and Barry reminds him that he said he would do whatever it takes, and he plans to put Snart back where he found him, and they agree. And this is really the thing that helps elevate this episode. A confident Barry. I mean, when was the last time we actually saw a Barry that was confident? A Barry that seemed like he knew what he was doing. This is a Barry that seems like he has everything in play. Like, has to go well for him, and that it's just a very hopeful episode, and I really did like seeing that. This has been such a hopeless season, and Barry has been depressed throughout a large majority of it, and I'm happy to see that he is starting to get back into that more confident type attitude, which we'll talk about that at the end here, but Savitar Barry is working on a suit when Killer Frost comes in, and she points out that they're Barry and Caitlin again, and Savitar says that she's not Caitlin and he's not Barry, and Frost wonders if he can kill Iris, and Barry explains that if she doesn't die, then he's never born. So obviously that doesn't work. If he can just kill Iris, unfortunately, he's never born, because that's where he becomes Savitar. It was from the Inner Rage, and when Frost says if he's ready to end Iris's life, Savitar says that he remembers being created as disposable life, and he wonders if Frost is having second thoughts, and when she says that she isn't, he tells her to be ready, and Savitar has new memories of Barry recruiting Snart and tells Frost to let them take it because no speed gun can stop a god. So again, even though Barry is doing this on the DL, Savitar can still find where Barry is, and I thought the Savitar scenes are just really strong here again. Savitar is a kind of villain that, yes, we've seen before, but something about him is just so utterly menacing, and Grant Gustin's doing a really great job channeling that character, and I thought definitely that was very well done here. So is then reviewing the Argus blueprints. He figures where the power cell is, and when Barry wonders what else is down there, Snart says it doesn't matter as long as Barry follows his plan, and Joe then asks how he's going to get in, and Barry says that he's handling it, and HR then brings Tracey in, and Barry says they can trust her with his identity, and Barry tells Joe to take Iris somewhere that he doesn't know, so that Savitar won't, so that way they can delay Savitar finding her, and tells her it's not goodbye, and Iris tells him not to lose himself trying to save her, and I mean, it makes sense why Iris said that, because what he's doing here is very dangerous. He's going against everything that he believes. I mean, this is the kind of stuff that Barry tries to stop, or just small bank robberies like this. But again, to save Iris, this is kind of the price he has to pay. He is doing whatever he can to do that, and you can't help but root for Barry in this episode. That's something I really love, is that I was rooting for Barry, and I haven't been for a while this season, and this is the first episode in a while where I genuinely was rooting for Barry. Like, I really did want him to win here, and I thought that was very well done. So we see on Earth 2, we see Harry is working in his lab when a breach opens, which it was so weird to see Harry again, but Tom Cavanaugh reminded how great he is as a character actor because of how different these two characters are. So it's Kid Flash, Joe, and Iris, and Barry then sets his watch and tells Snart that it's how much time that they have before they lose. And at Argus, Lila repents to leave for a San Francisco via chopper, and a few seconds later, Lila brings Snart in, says that Flash gave her an unexpected gift, and she's taking Snart to lockup, and they check her ID, it comes up positive, and at Star Labs, Cisco says that the fake ID he made is a masterpiece, so I love that Cisco is praising that. I thought that was just really funny to see. And the guard then asks Lila for a password, and Cisco tells Barry over the earbud to stall. The disguised Barry takes out the guard, shuts off the transmogrifier, and while Snart slips his handcuffs, Cisco directs them into the building. And on Earth 2, Joe is then cleaning his gun. Iris is watching him. She figures that what's happening is hardest for Joe. And I really did love the scene between Joe and Iris, because I will admit, Iris is an extremely underused character. And Candace Patton, I think she's a good actress. I think she does a good job as this character overall. She's a hell of a lot better than Kenan Lonsdale, definitely. Kenan Lonsdale is by far the worst actor on the show. I don't really think he's that great of an actor. But Candace Patton has always done a good job in scenes like this, and I feel like they really have not focused on that relationship enough. Like, they definitely have shown things with Joe and Barry, but rarely do we get a scene with Iris that's not with Barry. It's been so Barry-centric, and it's really just made Iris the love interest, and it kind of sucks. So I like that we really did get this scene here to really show the bond that they have. I mean, we know the bond they have, but it's been so long, and I thought this was just really well done. Basically, Joe's cleaning his gun, Iris is watching him. She figures out what's happening is hardest for Joe, obviously because, you know, he doesn't want to lose his daughter, but he knows it's kind of happening and it's kind of inevitable, and tells him that where she was 16, she snuck out past her 8 p.m. curfew, and Joe admits that he was very strict, and he tells her that he took some of the money he was saving for their college to go on a blues cruise. And it turns out that she actually, you know, Barry and her switched rooms so she'd go out past her curfew. And Joe then bursts out into song, dances with Iris, the song I guess he used to sing to her when she was young. And again, it's just a really well done scene. Joe's really trying to relish the time that he has left with Iris, because he knows he doesn't, you know, even though this mission, you know, Barry's confident is going to work out well, no one can say for sure. I mean, there's no guarantee that this is going to fully work out for Barry. So obviously, Joe is trying to, you know, he's trying to enjoy the time he has left with Iris and tells his daughter that he loves her. And she gives Joe her engagement ring to give to Barry just in case something bad does happen to her, and they hug, and it's just a very powerful scene. I love the way it was done, and it's quiet scenes like this that really do help this episode. While I love everything going on with Barry and Snart, this was really a great episode for everyone, particularly for Iris, and I thought that was definitely very well shown here. It's a relationship that's very understated, and I really do miss the days when this was such a vocal point of the show, and I thought this was a really great return to that relationship. Suicide Squad's previous cell. They find the door leading to the power cell, and there's signal interference near the cell. The lock is a Montgomery 3000, and Cisco warns it can be unlocked by 3 different voice codes from 3 different people. Snart finds a way to get it to open in 37 seconds. You can imagine that he's always, you know, he's found ways to cheat, and he's found ways, you know, to get things open. That's just who Snart is. He's basically, you know, any nook and cranny, every sort of cheat code and anything like that, he knows how to do. So, basically, and I thought that really did help here, actually. The 2 men start opening the door. King Shark then peers out through the window, which we haven't seen King Shark in a very long time. But once he moves on, Barry realizes that Argus is using King Shark actually as a guard dog. And when Barry tells Snart to give him his cold gun, Snart realizes that Barry plans to kill King Shark, and he wanted a partner who wouldn't care if he killed. And he knows that Snart's completely okay with that, because that's what Snart does. So he hands over his gun, and Barry is preparing to shoot King Shark, and Snart does the unthinkable here. He actually tries to stop Barry, and he tells Barry that sharks avoid killer water, and if they lose the temperature enough, King Shark will fall asleep. So he doesn't have to kill him, or he tells Barry to choose whether to kill King Shark or not, and Barry then heads the gun back, and Snart removes the cold cell from the gun, slides into the room, and I think this really was a great parallel between that scene we got in Season 2, where Barry was telling Snart that he sees the good in him. Snart really does admire the good in Barry. While he is, you know, always kind of, Barry's, you know, he's always outrunning him, he's causing Barry all these sort of problems, he really does admire the heroic nature that Barry does have, and I think that's something that Barry has kind of gone away from at this point, but I really do love that Snart is trying to get him back on that track, and I think if anyone were to do it, it would be Snart, who Barry tried to show that he could be good, and I think Snart is really understanding, you know, who Barry is really supposed to be. So HR then finds Tracey making a miniature jitters, and I really do love these two. I've talked about before. I think their relationship, it's given HR more to do, and in general, it's become become one of the highlights of this last half of the season. But she gives HR some coffee. He admits that he's never felt like he completely belonged until she arrived. And again, I did think that some of this dialogue was a little bit on the nose, but again, it made sense. These two have had a very, surprisingly very well-developed relationship. And now he's really starting to understand his purpose, to inspire her. And HR asks her to come to Star Labs with him, and they belong together with him, inspiring her. And she says she'd love to join Team Flashman, and they kiss, but I don't really know if this is going to work out. Look, I want to believe that HR is going to stick around, but based on how things have gone with the Wells characters in the past 2 seasons, I don't know if HR is really going to stick around. And it sucks, because I feel like the show is going to do that, but I don't know, maybe they'll surprise me. I'll get more into that when we get to the end of the review, but right now I don't really know how that's going to work out. But King Shark then passes out. Snart and Barry go in, the villain rises up briefly, then pass out again. The 2 men get to the power cell, Barry takes it, the door starts to close. He slides out, leaving Snart trapped on the other side, and Snart tells Barry that it's his chance to show how ruthless he is, and says that sometimes he does have to make a tough call. And after a moment, Barry moves away from the interference and calls Cisco, explains the situation. Cisco warns that unfortunately he can't hack the mainframe. He's tried, but it's just not working, and Barry goes back, tells Snart that Cisco is working on it. King Shark then wakes up, Cisco gets the door pathway open, and as Snart crawls out, King Shark grabs his leg, Barry pulls him free, tells Cisco to close it, the door then slams shut, cutting off King Shark's hand, and it regenerates the damage. The 2 men then turn to find Lila and her guards waiting, and in her office, Barry tells Lila that he'll do anything to save Iris. She points out that she saw the whole thing on the security monitors, and Barry actually risked his freedom and Iris's life to save Snart, so it obviously was kind of a suicide mission, but Barry doesn't really care. Again, he's all really concerned about saving Iris. So Lila gives Barry the cell, figuring that Barry would do the same thing if it was Diggle's life on the line, and I agree. I think Barry and Diggle, they always have had that great relationship, and it really to show how far these characters are coming. Again, smaller moments like this I think really do help elevate the show overall, and really to show why Barry is that rootable hero that, we're supposed to love. Back in Siberia, Barry asks Snart if he thought Barry could leave him behind, and Snart tells Barry that his goodness is his strength, and he shouldn't play Savitar's game. He shouldn't just do this because Savitar wants him to. Because as we know, Savitar is trying to break Barry. He's trying to do whatever he can to destroy him and take away everything that Barry cares about. And it's similar to Prometheus, I will say that. I just think that storyline has been handled a lot better, because Savitar has been very, single-minded, and he hasn't really focused on everything he can take away from Barry. He's only really focused on Iris, and basically the 2 men shake hands. Barry tells Snart to take care of himself, and I really love seeing these 2 together. Honestly, I want to see them work together again. I love what we got with Barry and Snart here, and I thought it was just really satisfying. Again, while Snart's purpose is to be evil, he does have the heroic side in him, Barry is pure good, and I think that's something that this episode definitely does show. So Barry returns to Star Labs, asks where Iris is, and HR says that she's on Earth 2. They realize that Barry is actually Savitar Barry, and this is an incredible twist where he speeds off. Cisco calls Barry, tells him that Savitar is coming. We get this incredible ending where on Earth 2, the team prepares for Savitar's attack. Savitar comes through the breach, Kid Flash attacks him, he finally grabs Wally and beats him, breaking his leg and then throwing him across the lab, and unfortunately, Wally is in some pain there. So Joe and Harry then open fire, but the shots bounce off the armor. Savitar Barry emerges from the armor and confronts them, promises to kill them if they aim their guns at him. And Joe then tries to get through to him and tells him, look, whatever I did to you, I'm sorry, but Savitar's way past that. He's not looking for any pleasantries right now. He's just focused on killing Iris. And Harry then secretly draws a pistol. Joe calls their opponent Barry, and Savitar yells that's not his name and said they have to watch Iris die. And he tells Joe that Iris accepted her fate, and Joe should too. That she's going to die, and he just needs to understand that. So Harry draws his gun, Savitar grabs Iris, goes back through the portal, Harry goes to Wally, Barry arrives, and Joe tells him that Savitar just took her. So we then see it's 52 minutes until Iris dies, and back on Earth 1, Barry takes Wally to the medbay, assures him that he didn't let him down, and I like this. Barry and Wally, I have overall enjoyed the Kid Flash bond, but I do think Barry has been very hard on Wally, so it was nice to see him actually congratulate Wally for a change, and actually command him on what he did, and he goes to the lab. HR then apologizes for screwing up, and Barry tells the others they have to go to Infantino Street because they know that's where Savitar will be. So Tracey insists the bazooka will work, and HR assures her that it won't fail, and that it won't fail, and Barry then goes, he won't see HR and Tracey's plan, neither can Savitar, obviously, because if he doesn't see it, then Savitar can't see it, which again makes a lot of sense here. So Cisco then packs his gear, HR waits with him, HR finally says he didn't inspire anyone, and they're the ones who have inspired him, and I think he's really realized that, they've really brought out this confidence in him, and he asks if he's going to hold down the fort. HR says that he will. Cisco knows he will because he's the one that shows up and they depend on, and as Cisco goes, HR says until next time, and Cisco goes down the hallway. He has a vibe vision of Frost in a forest telling him it's time for a chat. Barry arrives and Cisco tells him what he saw. He explains that they had vibes of him and Frost fighting in the forest, and Barry tells him to go and save Caitlin while he saves Iris. And I know a lot of people are like, why would Barry let Cisco save Caitlin on her own? But I think that's just like Barry thinks he can save Iris. He thinks Cisco can save Caitlin, they won't have a problem. He is confident that this will not turn out like that dark future. He's doing everything he can to make sure that doesn't happen, and I think that's the main reason why he is so, confident about this. He feels like they have everything they do to keep that from happening, when we see towards the end that's not exactly the case. Arrives in Infantino Street. He hears the same newscast that he did when he jumped to the future. Tracey's in a nearby car. She prepares the bazooka. Joe's on the rooftop with a rifle, and they literally have anything they can to just strike at Savitar. So Vibe goes to the forest. He calls Frost out. Frost says that in order to join Savitar as a god, she has to kill Caitlin once and for all. Just do everything she can to destroy that personality, and she blasts Vibe. He defends himself, but she knocks him down and moves in for the kill, and it was a really great setup. I'm definitely interested in seeing where that's going to go, because that's going to be very interesting to see. But Savitar then arrives with Iris, says the time for the ascension to godhood has arrived. Flash then fires a bazooka at Savitar, but he avoids the blast at super speed at first, and the hero finally manages to hit him, but Savitar shrugs off the energy. He holds up the Philosopher's Stone and explains it's made of calcified Speed Force, and Flash actually gave it to him. And Savitar says he's free of Barry, tells him that he loses, and prepares to impale Iris, and we see Iris, back in the beginning of the episode, she's recording a message that she loves Barry, and if something happens to her, she needs Barry to hear that she takes him as her husband. Obviously, if they don't get married, she did in fact do what she can to, pledge her love to him, and I thought that was just extremely well done, and it's very well intercut with the heartbreaking scene where Flash runs forward as fast as he can, but unfortunately, he's just not fast enough. Savitar kills Iris and runs off. She collapses into Flash's arms as Joe watches from the rooftop, and we see that the worst thing that Barry tried to prevent has actually happened, and that is the way this episode ends. Really powerful stuff overall, but let's just get this episode and where it's going to take us into what is sure to be an epic finale. So, overall, guys, like I said, I really love this episode, honestly. I'm surprised by how much I really did love this one, but they really had everything they could to make a great episode of The Flash, and I feel like a lot of what happened in this episode, we've really been missing. I've missed the fun character dynamics. I've missed the fun interplay between characters, and we got that here. We had some really fun scenes between Barry and Snart, and Snart really did help out Barry. I like that those two, are kind of, they bring out the best in each other. Like, Cole, he really understands Barry's good, and Barry really understands the criminal type personality of, Snart. That's just who they are as characters, and I thought that was just very well portrayed here. And I hope we see Snart again. I know that obviously Wentworth Miller, he thinks his character works best as a recurring character. I get it, definitely. I think a character like that, there's only so much you can do with him. But he was one of the best parts of the first season of Legends, and I hope they do start to incorporate him more, because I love what we get out of this character. Wentworth Miller's just so fucking good, and I hope we see more of him, because he's been fantastic on this show. As far as what's gone down now, a lot of people have been talking about this whole thing with Iris. Now, I'm going to say right now, I don't think Iris is going to stay dead. There's no way that Iris is going to stay dead. I mean, the whole season has been leading up to preventing her death. There's no way Barry's going to let her die. I mean, there's no way. And I know, obviously, next week's probably going to be a lot of mourning and things like that, but I don't think he's just going to let Iris die. I don't think that's how this is really going to play out. I think Barry is going to change things. I think he just can't help himself. Even though he has said he's not going to go back in time, I think he's going to go back, and he's going to try to save Iris, and it's going to be kind of like a retread of what we got, with this season, but I did hear Season 4 is going to be very different, so I'm interested in seeing really where this is going to go, but I don't think Iris is going to say that. There's just no way the show would go in that direction, and I doubt they're actually going to do that. Now, but the whole theory that people have been saying about HR possibly switching bodies with Iris, it's definitely an intriguing theory, but I don't think it's more than that. It's just a theory. I don't think that actually happened. HR, I just don't think something like that would happen. I mean, he was too busy doing his own thing. He was in Star Labs with Tracey, so how could he have gotten out that fast? I don't really understand that. So I don't think HR switched bodies with Iris. I know it's a huge theory going on right now, but I don't think that's what's going on. I think Iris is in fact dead, but I do think Barry's going to do what he can to save her, and we'll have to see really the way that plays out. Savitar is a villain. I'm really loving Savitar, like I said. I think he's just very compelling. I think he's really menacing. And the fact that he is Barry, again, just gives him a lot more menace. The fact that this is Barry's darker side, kind of the side that Barry almost became. He kind of almost became that Savitar-like personality, you know, his very merciless type decision where he was ready to kill, you know, King Shark. And you can really understand why he would go in this direction, because Barry does have that darkness in him, that's for sure. And you can see he's trying to do whatever he can to dissuade that, but I think Barry was just too confident that this would go well, and obviously it didn't. Now, let's talk about Cisco, because this whole thing that went down with him and Frost, I don't think he's going to get his arms cut off. I know a lot of people said, you know, they think that he's going to lose his arms just like he did in the future. I don't think that's what's going to happen here. But I also don't think Julian's going to be the one to save the day. I know we didn't see Julian this episode. I'm not sure why. That's something that was definitely very strange. But I do think Cisco is going to be the one to save Caitlin. I mean, they have the strongest relationship. He's been with her the longest. They're best friends. And he wants to do what he can to save her, and I think it would be really well done if that's how this all plays out. I want him to really be the one to save Caitlin, and we'll have to see the way that really goes. But I don't think it's going to happen until they defeat Savitar. I think they're going to beat Savitar fairly early in the episode, and the rest of the episode is going to be like the aftermath. That's what it seems to be, at least. Now, last year, obviously, wasn't like that, but I feel they're going to go in a different direction. I think they're definitely going to defeat Savitar very early on, but again, I could be wrong. We'll have to see really how that plays out here. And then as far as what's going down with HR, like I said, I don't know if HR is staying on the show. I know he just made that promise to Tracey that the two of them are going to be in Star Labs and they're going to be members of Team Flash. But I genuinely don't know if HR is going to stick around because of what happened with Harry and with, you know, with Thawne. I'm not going to get my hopes up. I don't think HR is sticking around. I hope he does, because I think he's honestly been my favorite of the three. Yes, Thawne is the best character, but HR really has brought out such a different side of Tom Cavanaugh that we really haven't gotten to see in the other two characters, and it would really be a loss to the show if he was gone. He's been one of the best parts of this season, and I hope they don't just get rid of him. I remember, initially, I was kind of on the fence about him, but I really have loved what we got out of him this season, and I really do want him to continue to be on the show, because if he's gone, Tracey doesn't have much of a purpose on the show anymore, and I don't know if she's just going to go, but I really do hope they keep him on the show, because I really have loved what we got out of HR, but again, I don't know if he's really going to stay. We'll have to see. Overall, guys, I really did love this episode overall. I thought we had a lot of great stuff going on here. We had some great action. We had some really fun humor. We had some really nice touching moments between, you know, Joe and Iris. That scene, I think, was definitely one of the highlights of the episode. Barry and Lila as well. I thought that connection was really great. And things like that. I think it's just they really did everything they could to set up a very well done penultimate episode. Yes, there are a few flaws in there. You know, where was Julian? There definitely were things that I think they could have done just a bit better. Wally, what's really going to happen to him, we don't really know. But overall, guys, I really did love this episode. At the end of the day, I am going to give The Flash Season 3, Episode 22, Infantino Street, a 4.5 out of 5 or an A-. So far, guys, we made this episode of The Flash. Let me know what you guys thought of this episode overall. Loved your thoughts. And like I said, this is the best episode we've gotten in so long, and I really do hope the finale doesn't disappoint. I feel like it's going to, but I really hope that's not the case. And if it doesn't, then I think we're really on the fast track to a really strong 4th season. I really think they're going to do what they can to improve this season. I know they're going in a very different direction, and I hope that does pay off in the end. But that's my review. Hope you guys enjoyed. We'll see you guys in my next video, which will be for the Americans, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.